There are two basic important aspects that contribute to our knowledge in nutrition of the role that trace elements play in the biochemistry and the synthesis of bioactive compounds. There is a general theme again and again in organic molecules that in cellular synthesis, when nutrient molecules are put together, that an element is included, which seems to be a general theme of bioactive compounds. A good example is that hemoglobin does not carry oxygen unless it has combined with its other organic molecules iron. And in the plant kingdom, the chlorophyll does not work without magnesium added to it. And in the structure of this, there's generally little dotted lines that just show that they have found this. But in finding out that there are approximately at least 70 or 75 different elements that are necessary in cellular synthesis to completely and accurately make bioactive compounds, and it required the analysis of coral minerals, which have access to all the elements that are in the ocean. The instrumentation had to be developed to be able to detect very small amounts of these different trace elements. And as the sensitivity to instruments increase, we find out there are more elements that are needed. And I have a book here from Russia where they really spent a lot of time analyzing this, and they were able to show that for optimal nutrition, you need to have a supply of the trace elements in your diet that can be added in cellular synthesis at the right time, and that these trace minerals are primarily found in the third step of cellular synthesis, which is Golgi. So with that, we'll start out with this short presentation to try to get across the importance that trace elements contribute to cellular synthesis of bioactive compounds that carry out the biochemistry and the physiology of human life. Well, in this brief presentation on trace elements that are necessary for optimal nutrition, we won't cover all the approximately between 60 and 70 right now that are known to be essential, but we'll hit on the principle and the several that are in our current New Eden formulation that is built around the active principle that was found in the aloe leaf gel, which is acetylated mannose or ace-mannan, combined with these trace elements that come from a mine in New Mexico, that when it was formed, rainwater or fresh water came into the strata, and you don't have the heavy toxic metals from seawater when this type of compound is made. So we'll go to the first slide. Now, there are recurring themes in biology, and the elements are an active compound that are constantly in the molecular structure of organic molecules that are made in cellular synthesis. An example in the animal kingdom, or which is called zoology in that study, hemoglobin must have iron or it doesn't carry oxygen. Vitamin C must have copper, just a molecule, or it doesn't have its physiological benefits to good health. And again, vitamin E must have selenium in the structure. And the plant that are utilized in cellular synthesis are primarily in the plant kingdom, and they supply, and that study is called botany, and they supply these trace elements in the compounds that provide in cellular synthesis what the genes call for, which control the cellular synthesis. And you should understand the genes are much like a blueprint. It's instructions, but you can carry around a blueprint for years, but you won't have a home or a structure until you bring in the materials and provide the labor to put them together to make this. Well, the genes give you the instructions to control cellular synthesis, but in your diet, you must have the nutrient molecules and the trace elements that are you. And so, again, in this recurrent themes of biology, even in the plant kingdom, magnesium must be present in chlorophyll, or it can't capture the energy in the narrow wavelength that comes from the sun that plants through cellular synthesis hook carbon molecules together in a chain. And this chain of carbons come from carbon dioxide, which the animal kingdom breathes out in respiration. It's also present in fermented products and decaying products. But the carbons in this carbon dioxide are hooked together and form the skeleton for amino acids, for fatty acids, and for carbohydrates. And they're altered by what types of radicals are attached to them to make the different types of molecules that make up the structure of the body. And all your enzymes have a trace element, not only in the plant kingdom, but in the animal kingdom. And here is a demonstration. If you just look at it superficially, the structure for chlorophyll looks on the page in the book very much like a hemoglobin which is present in the animal kingdom, but we've put a circle around the trace mineral and the little dots that go to it because it's not exactly known how this trace mineral is related to the organic structure. But hemoglobin doesn't carry oxygen to the cells without the iron, and chlorophyll doesn't transfer the energy from the sun to the bond between carbon molecules, which is how the energy is brought into the body to conduct the metabolism of life. Now, one of the trace elements is boron, and it's present in boric acid. And we have the structure there that has the B at the center of it. It has oxygen and hydrogen molecules, three of them, hydroxyl group, OH is hydroxyl, and it's active in bone formation, in wound healing, in hormone regulation. It works with the magnesium in the gut absorption, and it's carries out a role boron does in anti-inflammation and antioxidant support for binding to free radicals that you don't want to attach to the membranes inside the cell, or even worse, if these free radicals attach to the DNA that would alter the instructions for cellular synthesis. And knee pain is one of the most common symptoms of low boron level. Sources of boron are broccoli, spinach, carrots. And if you'll notice, all your cruciferous vegetables have boron. In your fruits, you see it in the juices and also in raisins, prunes, peaches, pears, and avocados. In the nut kingdom, you'll see boron in walnuts, peanuts, pecans, and other nuts such as sunflower seed and pumpkin seed. In the legumes, we mentioned the peanuts, the beans, the lima and green beans are sources of boron. And also there's trace amounts of boron in any cow's milk or coffee beans. Uh, Humate, that is a uh, product from this mine in New Mexico, contains boron, and it's in the New Eden dietary supplement to increase the inventory of trace minerals that are required in cellular synthesis. Now, this is a list of some of the trace minerals and humate analysis. And you can see that the red circle around gallium is required. And just multiple symbols that are used for different trace elements, and it has their atomic number there to the left of them. And this humate that is put in New Eden comes from layers of plants that grew when the volcanoes were covered the earth. And the ash coming from these volcanoes come from the core of the earth where all the trace minerals are present. And this is somewhat you can think of like coal, your soft coal and hard coal being anthracite coal. But the difference is that the pressure that was applied to this layer of plant material was not as high nor as hot as the formation of coal. And also in this important humate is that this mine layer of this vegetable material that was laid down during the time of the volcanoes and ash is that rainwater or fresh water came in to interact with this layer of plant material. And this is very different from the humate that is formed from seawater, where you will find the toxic elements that give it a bad name for those that don't know the difference. And the Japanese literature states that these elements are still bound to the plant carbohydrate chains and are organic in their nature. In other words, they're in the not just the mineral form, but in the organic form, connected to the carbohydrate chains of the plants. And they can enter the cellular metabolism much more rapidly because the mineral elements have to be combined with an organic molecule, usually some carbon compound, to be able to enter into metabolism. Now, another trace element that's in humate is zinc. And zinc is found when you have slow growth and slow healing of wounds. The people that are prone to fatigue and hair loss and have poor sleep patterns. And also the important in their skin, it's often neglected to understand that the dermis and epidermis, actually the volume of cells in the human body, it's the largest organ of all the organs in the human body. And zinc is active in this organ for, as I told you before, low levels of zinc slows wound healing and the capillaries for tissue to support healing. And there's increased scarring when you don't have the zinc. And zinc is essential in the chromosomes formation when each cell divides, you have a new set of chromosomes of the DNA, and zinc is involved in this metabolism. It's involved in protein synthesis. And people that complain of they don't taste things like they used to and they can't smell, well, zinc is involved in the metabolism of taste and smell. Also, that zinc is necessary in the male for proper spermatogenesis, for reproduction of the species. And in the female, when she's pregnant, the growing embryo needs small amounts of zinc, and to have a good muscle contraction to shorten labor, and in the rapid growth of the child after birth, particularly the brain, it's important in the diet of the newborn infant. Sources of zinc as highest is oysters of all things. And I also always add that raw oysters are a dangerous thing to eat because of the nature of the uh, nutrition of oysters is that they process very small amounts of organic material that come out of the rivers from sewage processing from each city, and there can be viruses in it, particularly hepatitis virus. So if you're going to eat oysters, you ought to have them stewed or fried and cooked so that the high temperature can inactivate the viruses. Also, zinc is present in beef, in lamb tissues, chicken, and pork, and it's high in fish and shrimp. You'll find some traces of zinc in milk and dairy products, and again in your grains and in your different nuts. Anyway, zinc is in the humate of the New Eden dietary formulation of the multiple trace elements that are in this. Uh, Populations that are subject to zinc deficiency are particularly when people have had the surgery to try to lose weight and alter the intestine, bypassing to increase the rate at which food moves down the intestine. So, post-bariatric surgery can lead to zinc deficiency. There are gastrointestinal diseases of poor absorption or malabsorption, such as in celiac disease or Crohn's disease. Vegetarians are more prone to zinc deficiency because they avoid those meats that we had on the previous slide, which zinc is very low in the plant kingdom, and that's one of the reasons vegetarians should have a broad selection of nuts in their diet to be a source for zinc. Also, individuals that of African, particularly descent, have a tendency for sickle cell disease, and zinc is low in this. And alcoholics that consume too much of their calories of ethyl alcohol, this reduces zinc absorption. And people that are drug addicts have a tendency to have low zinc levels and should be added to their diet. Now, time and time again, I refer to the fact that grandmothers have frequently said, if you want to be healthy, eat different colors of fruits and vegetables. Well, that's just a one way of saying that you need a broad general diet of multiple kinds of nutrients to be able to find the trace amounts of the trace elements that are concentrated in different foods. And in the modern agricultural thing where you raise the fruits or vegetables in the same soil for maybe decades, they utilize the trace elements and they're no longer present. And so that's why a dietary supplement like Humate can be of benefit because there's a reduced amount of trace elements, even in a broad diet in the modern era. And it took analysis of the coral minerals that you could crush and analyze with new instrumentation because the coral mineral is made up of cells that have the ability to take from the ocean water all the different elements, and this is one of the sources, just like the Salt Lake ancient minerals that they bring up from farmer levels of strata that were on the surface of the earth when the volcanoes were spewing out minerals from the core. And if you have humate, you in your diet with the multiple trace elements, you don't have to have as much fear of your host defenses and immunology are not working well, and you can have a certain amount of confidence that your body can resist infections, particularly viruses. But these trace elements are part of the structure of bioactive compounds and enzymes. And as I think I mentioned previously, I have a book on Russian scientific literature reporting that the trace elements are concentrated in the last stage of cellular synthesis, which is called the Golgi membranes. And it seems to be added after the complex organic molecules that are made in the plant are hooked together to make the bioactive compounds that carry out the biochemistry and the physiology of life. And with that is just a few of the elements that are in the humate. We could go on for hours because of so many are present, but each one of them, there's a common theme in biology, not only the plant and the animal kingdom, but that bioactive compounds have a element attached to them that they do not function properly without the presence of this, and it needs to be provided in the modern era in your dietary supplements. Thank you.